Hello, hello. This is Mistress Aura and Mistress Aura's channel. Welcome to my space where we talk about all things dark psychology, sex, kinks, fetishes, all of that good stuff, right? The things that are hidden in plain sight. Yet, for some reason, we choose not to want to talk about it. Me and my children were outside, so I apologize if you hear them screaming. We just outside doing us on this beautiful day. Today, I would like to talk to you all about boundaries and how boundaries plays a vital role in power, your personal power, your magnetism, and what even causes us to not even integrate this part of ourselves. Many of us were groomed, and when I say groomed, I don't just mean just sexually. There's more than one way to groom someone. You know what I mean? But I think when we talk about the word groom, we think about just, weirdos who groom like children and, stuff like that. No. Many of us were groomed to not have power. And it starts when we were very young, right? The little attitudes children tend to give you when they want to not follow a rule or they want to have something, right? And yes, the temper tantrums they have, it's a way to assert power. But as parents, our parents, especially our generation and the ones that came before, that having that sense of power to even speak on what makes you uncomfortable was completely shunned. So when you shut that side of yourself out that wants to speak out against injustices, oh my gosh, y'all know what I'm trying to say. When you want to speak out against things that don't align with you, when you feel disrespected, when you feel hurt, even if it's somewhat, unreasonable, you still should have the right to speak on it and feel how you feel about it. But as parents, they want to control the narrative. And, our job as parents is to make sure that our children are safe in making wise decisions, of course. But still allowing them to feel how they feel, I feel, is the key part in integrating like a healthy balance with that. You know what I mean? It isn't no room for you feeling how you want to feel, yet still abiding by the rules that the parents laid out. There is no room for that, especially in, typical average black households. So when you numb this part of yourself out, it's like it never goes away. And ways that this part of you who is like dying and screaming to get out and be heard and to be seen and felt and noticed is you have underlying anger issues, right? And when I say underlying, that's exactly what I mean. It doesn't have to necessarily be overt. It could be it can definitely be covert, meaning like anger issues that aren't so obnoxious and obvious, like tantrums and spasms and just going off on people. It doesn't always have to be like that. Like underlying, I knew I had anger issues when the desire to assert your voice, that never goes away. Those desires never go away. It's just you have learned to cope with it by not speaking up. So you do the complete opposite, because you speaking up for yourself and you stating, how you feel about something. It did not go well. It didn't go well. And then you got we live with our parents. Most of us, I moved out pretty young, but most of us stay with our parents, some of them till they 21. So imagine all of that conditioning. Imagine all of that power being taken away from you, your voice, your autonomy. Imagine all of that being taken away from you before you could even integrate it, before you can even play with it, before you could even know how to use your voice and stand tall without fear, and be fearless and courageous. You know what I mean? So just imagine that. Imagine never having this gift, but it's just so underdeveloped. I'll give you another example of things that are underdeveloped, and before you can even get a chance to use it in correct ways, right? Just say if somebody lost, this is a very I'm just trying to be YouTube safe, children safe. Just say you lost your V card by being assaulted, right? That power to choose and that power to wait, that choice was taken away from you before you could even use your autonomy, right? So the gift is just so underdeveloped. It's the same concept. The gift is just underdeveloped, and when it's really time to use it, you either freeze, you get defensive, and you know what I mean. But that's gonna stop today. And I know it can be scary, but your inner shadow is calling on you. Every time you don't stand up for yourself, I know you feel that shit. I know you feel like a coward. I know you feel defeated and man, I should have said this. You ever had an argument with somebody, or a disagreement, and then after all is said and done, you be like, damn, I wish I could have said X, Y, and Z, right? And yes, I do feel you should be mindful, most of the time, of which I don't feel like you should say everything, but we all been there, just key points and details that you may have missed that you feel that you might have wanted to say. Those are even little signs that your shadow self is really calling you to integrate that part of yourself, and that part wants to be expressed. You are not a whole person unless you can truly integrate those parts that you keep shutting down. And I'm not gonna blame you. You know what I'm saying? I can't blame you as far as your origins and where these roots came from, but I can hold you accountable. I can, because you are the one that's still struggling with this. You know what I'm saying? So the people who may have put you in predicaments to where you couldn't stick up for yourself, they're going on about their lives. So that's why I'm not even worried about them. I'm not even, you know what I'm saying? It's you that's holding this part of you that is holding you back. So before I go further along, I just want to express in some ways, for me personally, how this popped up for me, meaning how my power being taken away have manifested into my reality, right? So especially in my dating life, when I was uncomfortable with things, I would typically not speak on them in fear of not appearing feminine, being too difficult, asking for too much, right? feeling guilty for distancing myself from family members who have said horrible things about me, have treated me any kind of way, not picking up the phone, feeling guilty for not picking up the phone when I don't feel like talking, without explanation or over explanation, right? Not asking for higher pay. Even if I know that this job isn't going to pay me higher and I'm in the interview process, I feel like you should still ask. Even if you take the job, still ask for higher. Woo. Let me see. Okay, even at restaurants, or somebody gave me the incorrect change, or they gave me the wrong order, and I would be so timid, and I would kind of purposely change my demeanor so I wouldn't seem threatening to somebody that may have messed up my order or made a mistake or something like that. Another one, a big one for me, is smiling or saying I'm sorry over and over again over some shit that is not my fault. Somebody bumps into me and I'm saying sorry. Why? Why am I apologizing? And every time I felt weaker and more like a coward, right? For the longest, I would say, in high school and, even before the elementary, all of those years I had been tormented and bullied, and, which contributed to me feeling, weaker and not as strong and capable. You know what I mean? When you don't feel strong within yourself, when you don't feel strong enough to assert yourself and move in the world that is comfortable for you, meaning like not comfortable, because comfort, I'm not talking about the negative parts of comfort. I mean, like, if no one was watching, how would you operate? Ooh, there's a nasty bug on me. If no one was watching you, how would you operate? You would be dancing, you would be walking proudly, you know what I mean? And where was I getting at? All I'm gonna say is, I didn't have the audacity. I did not give myself the audacity to operate like that. Operate in a space where it's like, I don't give a fuck who's looking. This is how I want to show up. I want to move in the world proud. But when you don't have that strength, oh my God, that's the most beautiful bird I've ever seen in my life. It's a cardinal. Y'all look at the baby duckies, but be quiet. Shh, they're just babies. You see them? Right over there in the water. But, when you don't operate from a place of strength, people are going to treat you weak. People going to have you so fucked up. Even when you develop a sense of strength, I still think people want to test you and just see like where your head is at. That's, human nature. You're always going to be tested by somebody. But overall, like most people can smell that shit on you. They know you're not going to speak up for yourself. They know you ain't going to do shit. You know what I'm saying? You have to develop that inner strength. And why I say inner strength is because you puffing up your chest and walking like you hard and talking to people all crazy, thinking that you're strong. That's not strength. That's easy. When you don't feel like strong internally, you feel inferior to people. You don't feel like an adult. You feel very childlike. I mean, I know for me personally, that's how it felt when I didn't feel strong internally. You don't feel capable. You don't take the lead. You just let everybody else do things. Like, you don't even like initiate things, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't feel capable. You feel like, well, I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to seem stupid, because you believe that others are smarter than you. You believe that, and some maybe, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, if you don't ask questions, this is about you. If you don't ask questions, how can you learn? You know what I'm saying? One thing that really helps with this as well is really being centered within your body. And y'all, when I post, like, okay, I made this channel, right, to talk about things like sexy stuff and all of this and all of that. This talking about boundaries plays a key part in being sexy, believe it or not. And I promise you, if y'all just stick with me, y'all be patient, y'all will see where I'm coming from. The more boundaries you have, and I didn't say walls. Walls are more like you won't let anybody in, or you push things away that could potentially be good for you, because we ain't gonna get into that, but it's a difference. Boundaries are things that truly bother you, and you just like, nah, that's not for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that. Completely different. It ain't no argument. It ain't no arguing. It ain't even no discussion, really. It ain't no back and forth. It's just hey, you know what I'm saying? I don't vibe with it. Next. But this plays a key part in being attractive and sexy and magnetizing your manifestations. And what I'm talking about, right? I feel like YouTubers, when they talk about having boundaries, they only mention boundaries in like relationships. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to that. That's gonna be the next topic right now. But I'm just throwing it out there. Like, I just feel like they don't even, like, boundaries are for you to feel safe. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why are you only trying to assert boundaries in certain situations? You have to, if you gonna really step into this dark shit, if you really gonna step into, you have to do like the whole shebang bang. Everybody can get the smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, honestly, to be real with you, you should have this thing about you where people like low-key fear you. Not like in a, I mean, if you want them to fear you in that type of way, hey, I'm not, I can't stop you. But at the same time, in order to have respect, people should to some degree fear something about you. Whether that's like, oh, I fear that, she's not gonna text me back if I don't get my shit together. I fear that, we're going to lose our best employee because we're denying her benefits and better pay and this and that, right? To some degree, you should be feared, right? And feared meaning like I'm not saying like controlled, like forcefully. Now, some people do induce those type of power tactics, you know what I'm saying, to keep people in line. But you don't always have to do that for every situation. You know what I'm saying? But that is very attractive. It is very attractive. And I think that women, when they start, watching these YouTubers that talk about femininity and stuff like that, it's like they just completely lose all boundaries, thinking that being submissive and fucking, I don't know what the hell they be talking about, but men do not like weak women. They might use you because you're docile, you're not gonna speak up. You know what I'm saying? You're easy, you're always polite, you're not human, like you don't burp, you don't have problems, you don't want to burden him with your problems because you want to seem so perfect. They don't like that shit. People like real people. Men bleed like we do. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have that balance. This is like why it could be a sacred union. Respect, you know what I'm saying, is not just given. People are gonna respect who they feel is got that energy that is respectable. That's just law. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have no strength, no backbone to you, you're easily breakable. Nobody's gonna even like rely on you for like big tasks. Nobody's going to want to put like, okay, this is why This is why manifestation and boundaries go hand in hand, because if you don't even have the strength to go get something and assert yourself and, take the lead, take control finally in your life, right? Steer the wheel. Why in the fuck would the universe give you more than what you can handle right now? For real, for real. Like think about it. I'm dead dog serious. Like, and this manifests 3D to this day. Like, people don't even rely on you for, they like, she not smart enough to handle this. Because they don't know you. They don't even know how smart you are, because you never even assert yourself. You try to dim your light to make other people who may be dumb as fuck feel, you know what I'm saying? Now, yes, in certain situations, I don't feel like you should show how smart you are. In certain situations. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, this is how you just carry yourself all the time. Like, you carry yourself like this all the time. Even around people who are as equally as smart as you. And you think that people are going to give you more responsibility, or the universe, like, okay, you want this business or you want to raise, you're not even willing to take the lead. Why would the universe grant you more responsibility and you don't even want to be strong enough to take the lead? You're not ready until you develop strength. I also feel like the more strength you have, the more authentic you become, and the more you find people who accept you for your authentic self. Because, right, I'll give you an example. I attracted people that wanted to use me, from even things like me just smiling inauthentically, right? I like smiling. I like smiling at people. I like to say good morning. But for the most part, I would, like, everybody I walked past, I felt like I needed to smile to make myself seem like I'm not a threat. So it really depends on, like, your intentions behind it. Subconsciously, if you really pay attention to yourself, you know your patterns. And I would offer places for people to stay, and I would just be super bubbly. And I still am bubbly. That still is a part of me, but I let that come out when it wants to come out. I'm not, my authentic self is not always smiley. But I've shunned that part from me that just doesn't feel like smiling all the time, because people all my life have told me, I thought you were such a bitch when I met you, but you're really cool. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, let me smile more so that way I can seem more approachable. Which, it's nothing wrong with smiling, and if that's what you feel makes you more approachable. But I feel like if it's authentic, if it's an authentic smile, not just a, even my coworkers, I would feel like I had to speak and get to know and befriend every single fucking coworker in the workplace. And it's like, to keep it a buck, I don't give a fuck about none of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Now I just get to be quiet, and I just get to stay to myself, and I let the people who are gravitated towards me come, and if I like you, cool. But I'm not always bubbly. And when you do not have boundaries, and when you're not yourself, it can confuse people, because you seem very inconsistent within who you are. Like, one minute you do have boundaries because you've had enough, and then you go right back to the same shit, you know what I'm saying, with that weak ass, fake ass smile and shit. And it's like, is she on drugs? Like, what is wrong with her? Like, she just seems so inconsistent. Like, who is she really? You know what I'm saying? Like, Y'all, my camera be bugging, so I'm sorry if it's like glitching a little bit. I don't. But anyway, you know, when I stopped deciding to smile, like, inauthentically, that's just like one thing that I, decided to stop doing, along with the many things that I've decided to start doing and stop doing for boundaries' sake. I did that for me. I didn't do that to appear stoic, or I didn't do that to seem like I have boundaries to other people or to seem tough. No, that's just me. Like, that's an expression of me. You know what I'm saying? And I feel more comfortable being myself and moving how I move freely without being in my head and telling myself, like, okay, this person's coming, smile. That takes a lot of fucking energy to always be in your head and telling yourself to do this, you know what I'm saying? So the boundaries, I feel like when people speak of boundaries, they just speak about boundaries with other people, and it's like, what about the boundaries within yourself, right? You get up, you don't drink no water, you don't even command your brain and tell it what to do. Like, nah, you got to get this homework done. You know what I'm saying? You just sitting here. You've been sitting here for weeks and this laundry still ain't done. You about to at least do one basket of laundry. What about the boundaries within yourself? The boundaries with, telling your brain, you're not allowed to talk to me like that if it's like a negative thought or something like that. What about that? What about you sticking up for yourself? You having the fucking audacity to be like, nah, that shit not riding over here. You know what I'm saying? You're claiming space. That's how you claim your domain. Like, this shit not riding over here, buddy. Oh, all these bugs is making me itch. Like, being outside, I love being outside. I do, but being outside makes me itch. Like, something is on me. I love it though. I love being outside. A woman, a strong woman, right? Despite of what society is saying to y'all, meaning, like, we don't like independent women, we don't like strong women, but they respect strong women. I rather, I feel like a man can love you and completely disrespect you. Love is definitely unconditional. You can't help who you love, but you could sure as hell disrespect the motherfucker that you love. Mom, I'll get some glass of water. Here, take this. You gotta clean. I'm not gonna push y'all too hard, because one thing for me that broke a lot of patterns within myself that I just was not satisfied with is exposure therapy. Gradually, right, at a pace that I felt like, okay, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I want you to start with yourself. For one, start with yourself. All right, did you close my door? Yeah. All right. The boundaries that you need to have with yourself. What you're not going to tolerate. You're not going to tolerate negative self-talk. You're not going to tolerate a lack mindset. You're not going to tolerate niggas running all up and through you. You know what I'm saying? Without this, that, whatever. It's up to you to decide that. Hold on, sweetheart. Boundaries within yourself. First. Second, what you gonna allow and not allow with other people. Don't allow people to talk to you crazy. You're not gonna allow people to lowball you. You're not gonna allow your clients to, keep constantly canceling on you. And, it's gradual. So, first, like I said, first it starts with you. That's really the hardest part, because once you master you, shit, everybody else is like, you know what I'm saying? Same thing applies. Ain't shit different. The second exercise I would like for y'all to do is, what if, just ask yourself, and I want y'all to write this down, because I really want y'all to start embodying these parts of you that, you suppress, but yet you possibly judge other people for. You know what I'm saying? Like, if nobody was looking, what would you be doing, right? Like, if nobody was looking, how would you act? How would you talk and walk? If nobody was looking, how would you dance? How would you move in the world? You know what I'm saying? Like, you will be bold. You will be you will be a force to be reckoned with. You will be dancing and smiling and introducing yourself. And you know what I'm saying? That is that part of you that wants to come out so bad. But you sit back and you watch other people in the shadows and you're jealous. Right? That's another, manifestation of your shadow self. You just sit back and you watch, and then you become jealous because you won't embody the traits that you want to embody. You know you want to be a bad bitch, but you get mad at the bad bitches that's moving how you trying to move. You get mad at people who are overly assertive and dominant because you want to be dominant and assertive. Right? So let's talk about it. Somebody said something to me earlier. We talked on the phone and it turned me on. Now, the old me, I would have been offended. Like, what you mean? But he was like, I like what I hear. And I didn't give you my number at first because I wanted to see were you worthy of that. And any other female would be like, worthy of that? What you mean? I'm not worthy. But no, I love that. I love people with self-esteem that pause before they act and be like, is this person worthy? That was such a turn on for me. And I told him that. I love that. Because that's what I do. I was like, I just had to see if he was worthy first. Hi, Mommy. So take into consideration. I love you too, sweetheart. Hold on, baby. I'm almost finished. I just wanted to, share that with you all. Share this to the world. Because this is going to make a difference in feeling safe within your body. And after we start feeling safe within our body, then we can start moving on to the other extremities, sexual desires and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Well, then we could play a little bit. But right now, the foundational shit, it's time to get real. We need to plant our roots first. But all right, y'all. I love y'all, Mistress Aura, and come back.